this is coming from the Marquis. He's asking, what are brands to watch out for in 2017? Who are we expecting great things from? And let's also add to that question, who needs to make a power play as a brand?
Oh man, there's a few. Power play as a brand. I think Vacheron needs to do something, personally. I think, who do I expect great things from? I'm going to go skip over what I was just saying, Montblanc.
Okay.
Because every year, I know they don't get a lot of love in the watch community, but every year they come out with something great. The Orbis Terrarum, the perpetual calendar for under $10,000.
The Rios X, those were breakthrough watches for them.
Exactly, and every year with the ex-CEO of JLC at the helm.
Mr. Lambert.
Mr. Lambert, exactly. Every year I expect something fantastic from them, and this year's no exception. Montblanc, that's what I gotta say.
Okay, and you know what? They certainly have the brain trust to make it happen. Now, of course, Jerome Lambert, along with Georges Kern, recently elevated to the board level of Richemont.
Yes.
So this is going to be, in a lot of ways, the last set of novelties to come from those respective brands under the stewardship of those longtime transformative CEOs.
Absolutely, and actually the new CEOs are going to be a trifecta. It's Mr. Lambert, Mr. Kern, and it's not...
I believe it was, I want to say, someone from Van Cleef was elevated.
From Van Cleef, okay.
Was elevated to the board.
That makes sense. Actually, are you sure it's not Stanislas de Cassis from Cartier?
I believe he retired.
It's hard to keep up with all these
Honestly,
things.
Richemont is a maze and a mystery to me. The Iron Curtain, Winston Churchill, where are you now? He could help us. He'd cut through this.
I used to work there, and I still have no idea, so...
So the bottom line is that I think a brand needs to make a power play. To be perfectly honest, Piaget. I think they're on the cusp of greatness, but they've been there for like 5 years.
I agree, and I have a lot to say about the subject, because as you guys may know, they were my baby. I used to be the North American rep for Piaget. And I think the problem is not in their product, because I think their product is fantastic. The 900p manual wind skeleton, the thinnest watch in the world, where the movement, the base plate is the case back.
Yeah.
Or we take the 700p, the kind of Piaget's take on the spring drive.
Pheline, I think we have a picture of the 700p to call up. We actually have an on-screen graphic right here.
And now they just made their first watch in steel, the Piaget Polo S. Does it look like an Aquanaut? Sure. It's also less than half the price.
And I have to say, you get a lot of the visual impact of some of those greats, like the Aquanaut, like the Nautilus, like the Overseas. And the Overseas going way upscale in price and stature this year. I'd say that should drive people to the Polo S.
It should. And Piaget is a brand, let's not forget, it's the brand with the most world records in watchmaking. They're fully in-house, and I mean fully integrated. The only thing they do not make is their own steel cases and their sapphire crystals, but they're fully in-house. Brands like Cartier, IWC, Vacheron in the past have all used Piaget movements. So I don't understand why there's an apprehension in the market. It's got all the right ingredients.
I think it suffers from the same problem that Montblanc had when it launched the first Time Walkers back in 1997, and that Cartier had in the early 2000s, and that's being associated principally with some sort of luxury good that's not watches. Cartier was known for jewelry. It was known for, when it was known for watches, it was known for quartz and women's watches. Montblanc, known for pens and leather goods. And they were an empire in that respect, but it took them all of 20 years to gain baseline respect as a watchmaker. I feel like Piaget is where Montblanc was 10 to 15 years ago. And they have a lot more watchmaking cred than Montblanc had 10 to 15 years ago.
I think if we're talking about cred, and feel free to disagree with me here, Tim, they have more watchmaking cred than Vacheron Constantin.
I would agree with that.
They've never used something that wasn't in-house. I think, not quite Jaeger LeCoultre, but I think, if we look at history and calibers, they were involved in the Beta 21. They should be right up there with the big boys.
That's absolutely true. Now, 40 years ago, Piaget launched its first in-house quartz caliber. In 1960, it launched its first ultra-thin micro-rotor in-house automatic caliber.
The 9P.
1957, it launched its ultra-thin manual caliber. And again, back in the late 50s, it established its first company-owned brand boutique. This is a company that's been ahead of the trends so many times, you wonder how they've never been able to seize the initiative and run ahead of the industry. So I think Piaget needs to make a big move this year.
I agree. Even though in the 80s, with the Polo, the Polo was almost as popular as the Submariner.
True, it had its heyday.
It had 10 years of greatness.
In the era of big hair, Lamborghini Countach wall posters, and two-tone, Piaget was big.
Yeah, it was. It was. And let's bring the... Actually, I don't mind that era. I kind of like the 80s.
Yeah, it's kind of coming back.
Just a little bit.
We'll do a theme show one day. Federico and Tim take on the 80s.